Hi everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. It's so great to have you here with me today. So I'm doing a Dutch pour, a blowout creation. This is about the composition because I'm using a whole range of green colours, one of my most favourite colours, with a metallic, with a gold. Now this is just a paint and water combination, 1 part paint, 1 part water. But this is about looking at your overall canvas, how I'm going to place that paint on the canvas, blow it out, and then tweak the composition. I'm so excited for this. This is all about colour, and I'm going to be doing a series using all different colours. So if there's a favourite colour or a group of colours that you like or enjoy, or you want me to experiment with, drop those in the comments below. So without further ado, join me in saying, let's see what we can create. Okay, so here are all my colours and they're already mixed up, just paint and water, 1 part paint, 1 part water. And I've got a range of brands. I'm using Arteza, Amsterdam, Liquitex and Pebeo. So you can see here I've got metallic, which is the precious gold. And then I've got a range of different green tones, ranging from a green deep permanent colour, emerald green, sage green, and those in between. I will list all these colours, the ratios and the brands in the description box, so please check that out. But let me just do a close-up on the consistency. So as I say, this is 1 part paint, 1 part water. And as you can see, the paint freely flows from the spatula back into the cup with no trace at all. And that's the same with all of these paints. I do find that the Pebeo is a little bit thicker, so you might need a little bit more water, but the 1-to-1 ratio is a guide depending on what brands of paint you use. So greens with a gold. I can't wait to see how this is going to turn out. So I'm going to start with the darker tone of green, and I just want a block colour here in the centre. And then once I've done that block colour, that will give me an idea where to layer all my other colours too. So let's just start off with this block colour, literally pouring the paint in the centre. And I'm just going to blow that out with my blow dryer, cool setting and lowest blow speed, just to cover that area. Okay, so I've got my block colour in the centre, and I'm now just going to use each colour one by one and just place those colours in the white section of the canvas, just around that block colour of that darker green that you can see. So one colour at a time before we blow out the paints across that canvas. I think any metallic colour goes with greens. Greens I just absolutely love, but gold really does make that green pop. So I'm just adding some gold now. Now it's about using the hairdryer to blow that paint across the canvas. I want to fully cover the surface area, but I also want to be mindful about how those green tones in the colour palette will infuse with each other, how they will work with each other. And as I blow the paint across that surface area, I'm really looking at how that's going to work. I'm looking at the movement that the blow dryer is going to create by blowing that paint out to the outer edges. If you want to add a little bit more green, then do so. If there's a colour that you think there's too much of in one area, then just add a little bit more on top of another colour and blow that across the canvas. But again, just don't forget to step back, have a look at how it's progressing as you go through this creation process. But as that gold hits those greens, that's going to react and form some cells too and some reaction. So also look out for that as you go. But again, just enjoy that moment, enjoying being in that creative process. So I'm going to leave you now with me blowing the paint out across the canvas, and then I'll show you how I tweak some areas, because I want some areas to really pop with that gold, but I also want consistent coverage throughout, just so it helps with that drying process. So as we continue throughout this process, I want to blow some of these colours into that darker puddle of green. I don't necessarily want too much of that dark green on show, but I do want to blow some of those colours inwards. So that's what I'm doing now, just around that edge. And then it gives me a good idea of the overall look of this piece. You'll see now that I'm just tweaking some of those areas, but more importantly, ensuring that there isn't puddles of paint across that canvas, which will crack if I just left it. So I'm just blowing some more of that green from the canvas to the outer edges and letting it go down the sides. And don't worry about any excess paint that's on your table. You can always scoop that up and reuse it either as another colour or add it as a flow extender for a future creation. So I'm just checking I've got consistent coverage, and now I'm just using my torch to pop any air bubbles. Remember, when you're mixing your paints up, whether it's with pouring medium or water, as you mix them up, you're adding air into that mixture. And it's this torch that will just pop those air bubbles before you place it to one side to allow it to dry. Okay, one final check. That's a thumbs up from me. Let me take you in now for a close look at the wet version. I'll place this to one side, allow it to dry, and then I'll show you the dry version. But one thing that I would say with greens and almost all colours, think about how they're going to dry. The tone of green that you see here, especially that darker green, will dry a lot darker than what you see in the wet version. So when you're putting your colour palettes together, don't only just think about that overall colour when they're wet, when you're using them, when you're using those paints in a creation. Also think about that end result. They might dry darker, so when you're combining different colours or tones within a palette, just to have that in the back of your mind, because you don't want to end up with a really dark creation. But I know this green will dry a bit darker, but that gold is going to help all those other greens pop too. You'll see what I mean in a minute when we reveal the dry version. So here we go, here's the dry version, and as I said, that green in the middle, this one just here, has dried a little bit darker than the wet version. I'm really enjoying how these colours work well together, and that pop of gold just really helps all those other colours too. This year for me is about colour, and I'm going to explore colour as a theme throughout the year. So if there are particular colours that you like, drop them below. I'd love to add them to my list to explore as we go through the weeks and months ahead. And yeah, I'm just really grateful, and I really hope I get to see you again in a future video. Remember, it's free to subscribe to my channel, so hit that subscribe button. And if you can, please share out so I can reach new people across YouTube who might enjoy my work too. Have a great week ahead. Whatever you're up to creatively, have fun, and I'll see you soon. Take care, everyone. Thanks for your support. Bye.